Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
Quite a headache for thousands of drivers in central Kentucky today. A chemical spill shutting down Interstate 75 for hours. We have the latest from the scene.
Some students here in Madison County are getting home from school late today. I'll tell you why coming up.
Some people in a central Kentucky neighborhood are worried tonight after police say a strange man approached a child. WKYT News at 6 starts now. Good evening. A chemical leak from a tanker led to major traffic trouble on Interstate 75 today. For hours, I-75 was closed in both directions in Madison County, just north of Richmond. Officer Don flew over the tanker in Sky First this afternoon. At one point, emergency crews shut down a 7-mile stretch of I-75, and they told people in nearby neighborhoods to shelter in place. But tonight, I-75 has reopened in both directions. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy begins our top story team coverage with the latest on the leak.
The northbound and southbound lanes of Interstate 75 in Madison County are back open, but as you can see right over here, there is still a very long backup of vehicles trying to get back onto the interstate. They're on US 25 right now.
We are headed to South Carolina from Troy. We got stopped about 11 o'clock. And we've been sitting ever since on the highway.
Drivers are calling Tuesday morning's chemical spill a traffic nightmare.
It's frustrating.
It's
So we have a 3-year-old in the car. And we still have 8 hours of driving to go.
Troopers shut down 7 miles of Interstate 75, both the north and southbound lanes, because of a chemical leak on a tanker truck.
We turned around on the highway on the median and found a hotel and got a map and found some side roads and made it as far as we could, but then those are all stopped too. Can't even go around.
State police say a tanker out of Oklahoma pulled over on I-75 near the 96-mile marker today after noticing a leak. That tanker was carrying 3,235 gallons of ferric chloride. Ferric chloride is hazardous to the lungs. It is toxic and if inhaled can affect breathing.
It may have some inhalation hazards, and so just drivers driving up the interstate with their air conditioning on, if there's any of that liquid on the interstate, obviously that could be a hazard to them.
State police tell us the driver of the tanker is just fine, and the state trooper who had to go to the hospital because he was one of the first to respond to this incident is expected to be okay. In Madison County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Kristen, thank you. We have learned the tanker belongs to Triad Transport out of Oklahoma. It transports hazardous waste. We did some research, and here's what we have learned about the chemical that spilled. Ferric chloride is also called iron chloride. It's mainly used to remove impurities in water and for wastewater treatment. It could irritate your nose and throat if you inhale it, and if you ingest it, the chemical could bother your mouth and stomach. It can also irritate and burn your skin. Because of those potential health dangers, emergency crews didn't want to take any chances. They told people living in some neighborhoods near I-75 to shelter in place as a precaution. That meant they needed to stay inside and close all windows and doors. The chemical spill also affected some school bus routes this afternoon. WKYT's Jerica Insco continues our team coverage.
The school day in Madison County was normal, but once the school bells rang, 4 of the 17 schools struggled getting their students home.
The way this incident has unfolded today, we've been fortunate to be able to sort of plan for, okay, what's coming next.
A chemical spill on the interstate not only impacted drivers there, but also bus drivers at Whitehall Elementary, Glen Marshall Elementary, Cottle Middle, and Madison Central High School. New bus routes, buses fighting traffic, and buses being unable to take some kids home impacted possibly more than 3,500 students. Police actually escorted school buses around the traffic to get students home at a decent time, but they still had delays. That's because emergency management officials recommended people stay indoors in 3 neighborhoods near the interstate: Madison Village, Lexington Heights, and Clain Lane Estates, not allowing buses to go there.
With people who will supervise them and wait patiently until parents can get there. And there's no hurry for parents to get there because of the traffic impact. You know, it's moms and dads sitting in cars on that interstate.
It was a headache for both school officials and parents, which cleared up once the chemical spill was cleared. In Madison County, Jerica Insco, WKYT.
Madison County emergency leaders say they have lifted all shelter-in-place orders that were issued earlier. A strange man has people living in a Jessamine County neighborhood worried tonight. Police say he approached a girl in his SUV, causing some frightening moments for her. It happened yesterday in the Meadows subdivision in Wilmore. WKYT Sam Smith talked to some people in that neighborhood. He's tracking the investigation tonight.
The actions of one man can impact a whole neighborhood. Wilmore police say a man approached a young girl near the intersection of Butler Boulevard and Creekside Drive, just down the road from a park. People that live here can't believe it.
Well, it's a quiet neighborhood, and people don't, you never hear of stuff like that.
Bonnie and Roger Riddle walk in the neighborhood often. They were not around, though, when the incident happened, but understand why the girl's parents would contact police.
We know a lot of small children here in the neighborhood, so yes, it is a concern.
Police don't know who the man is or what his intentions were, but they do say he never got out of his vehicle, a black SUV with tinted windows. Police believe this may have been an isolated incident. Police will step up patrols in this neighborhood the next several days.
I think that would be better. I think it'd make everyone feel safer around here.
The girl was not harmed. From now on, the Riddles will watch out for anything suspicious while they're on their walks.
I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah, well,
For anything else, I can never think here, but I know it's not perfect here. It's not perfect nowhere.
In Wilmore, Sam Smith, WKYT.
Police describe that driver as a black man in his 20s with short hair and a muscular build. A Texas woman has been sentenced for stealing Social Security benefits meant for her father. His body was found in a Lexington storage unit. Today, a judge sentenced Judith Broughton to 10 years in prison. She also has to repay $245,000 in stolen benefits. Prosecutors say Broughton leased the storage unit to conceal the death of her father. His remains were found in January. Broughton pled guilty to willfully and knowingly stealing Social Security benefits.
Deputies say a relationship that began over the internet ended with violence in southern Kentucky. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office arrested 33-year-old Cornelius Jefferson and charged him with assault. Deputies say he moved from Georgia to Kentucky after meeting a Laurel County woman online. But they say after Jefferson moved, he didn't think the woman matched his expectations of her, so he choked her and threw food on her.
This just reminds us that, when we give our information out on the internet, or we get information out on the internet, anybody can say what they want to about how they are or who they are, but do you really know them? It's kind of scary.
Police say they found Jefferson on nearby Littontown Road after he left the woman's home with 2 suitcases. One person had to be taken to the hospital after this crash involving 3 vehicles in Lexington. It happened around 3:30 this afternoon on Cooper Drive at Colony Boulevard. That's near Christ the King School. An SUV ended up on its side. Lexington police say one person was taken to St. Joseph Hospital. That person's condition is not known. Police are trying to figure out what led to that crash.
Tonight, Winchester police need your help finding a man they say has been scamming restaurants. Police released this surveillance picture of the man that they're looking for. They say he has been getting restaurants to cash checks for him by claiming he works with mentally disabled people. But Winchester police say this is just a scam. We'll have more on this story coming up tonight on WKYT News at 11. We have an update now on a former UK football player injured in a fall at Commonwealth Stadium. Workers at UK Hospital say Brad Durham has now been released. He is continuing his recovery at Cardinal Hill Rehabilitation Hospital in Lexington. Durham fell from the upper deck of the stadium during the South Carolina game earlier this month. His family has set up a fund to help pay for medical bills. You can donate to the Brad Durham donation account at Central Bank.
Some chilly air has moved into the bluegrass, and gusty winds will make it feel even colder. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look at the forecast. And Chris, it's going to be cold tonight.
Yeah, it really is. We're going to see those temperatures continue to drop off fairly quickly this evening, especially after sunset, through the 40s, and the next stop will be the 30s later on tonight. Here is a big area of low pressure that is off to our east and northeast. Now, to see temperatures overnight really drop, we've got to get rid of the clouds. Those clouds are still plaguing most of the Ohio Valley. Thankfully, a lot of the juice with this system is off to our north and northeast, but we're still feeling the impacts from that storm that is coming together way away from Kentucky. Now, Live First Alert Defender showing the clouds coming in on that northwesterly flow that we're seeing out there now. The spotty shower or two beginning to show up, but the chill that is in the air, it's only 50 right now to northeastern Kentucky. The farther northeast that we go, the colder we are. A lot of low 50s throughout most areas over the next few hours. Will quickly transition in mid to upper 40s as we go toward the latter part of the evening. Keep in mind, those gusty winds will make it feel even colder than that. So temperatures continue to drop over the next few days. A little bit of frost threat. I'll show you when that arrives, and I'm looking toward a good-looking weekend with the 7-day in just a matter of minutes.
A young jockey who died while racing will be honored during Breeders' Cup weekend.
17-year-old Juan Saez died last week after being thrown from a horse during a race at an Indiana racetrack. The Jockeys Guild says jockeys will wear a patch Breeders' Cup weekend with his initials on it. They'll also wear a black band. Jockeys are also donating money to a fund set up for Saez's family.
A newly released report finds the bourbon industry is booming in Kentucky. The report says bourbon production brings in $3 billion in gross state product to Kentucky's economy every year. It's gone up 67% in less than 5 years. And officials say as the bourbon industry expands around the world, that also helps Kentucky.
New markets are opening up all over the world, India, China, Russia, and as Congress passes more and more free trade agreements and levels the playing field for bourbon, which has been overly taxed on the global market for centuries, that's going to open up a lot more growth.
Officials also say smaller craft distilleries are expected to invest $25 to $30 million in the next 2 years.
A Morgan County man's plans to raffle off his home through Facebook have hit a snag. As we first told you last night at 11, Todd Lambert and his family want to move to Florida, but they haven't been able to sell their West Liberty home. So he wanted to sell $10 tickets and raffle off the home. But Lambert says he has since learned Kentucky gaming laws won't allow that. He says a nonprofit organization would have to hold the raffle. Lambert says he is now working on finding an organization.
WKYT went pink today, helping in the fight against breast cancer by hosting a mobile mammography day.
Yeah, we partnered with St. Elizabeth Healthcare's mobile mammography van and Komen Lexington to provide breast screenings to nearly 40 women. St. Elizabeth Healthcare is one of 15 programs that receives grant funding from Komen Lexington. This was the second year that WKYT was able to host a mobile mammography day.
Christmas is a little more than 2 months away, and the Lexington Fire Department needs some help with its annual toy program. Firefighters are looking for a building to be donated that they can use to store all the toy donations. They say the building needs to have at least 10,000 square feet, and they'll need it for both November and December. The building also has to be inside Fayette County. If you'd like to help, we have information on WKYT.com.